A fight for survival, a tale of resilience. The fateful drive. The sun bled orange across California's Highway 1, painting the Big Sur cliffs in fiery hues. Angela Hernandez, 23, gripped the wheel of her white Jeep Patriot, her heart racing with the thrill of the open road. It was July 6, 2018, and she was driving from Portland to her sister's home in Southern California. The Pacific Ocean churned below, its waves snarling against jagged rocks. Her phone buzzed. It was her sister, checking in, but the twisting road demanded her focus. The cliffs loomed, their shadows swallowing the light. Angela's playlist blared, her voice humming along, a fleeting moment of freedom. But the ocean's roar seemed to whisper a warning she couldn't quite hear. Then, disaster struck. A shadow. A raccoon bolted across the highway. Angela's reflexes fired. She jerked the wheel, tires screaming, her breath catching. The Jeep skidded, fishtailing toward the cliff's edge. Time slowed, her pulse thundering in her ears. No guardrail. No mercy. The vehicle plummeted over the 200-foot drop, flipping wildly. Metal shrieking, glass exploding. Angela's scream was lost in the chaos as the Jeep crashed onto the rocky beach below. Freezing ocean water surged through the shattered windows, flooding the cabin. Blood dripped from her temple, blurring her vision. Pinned by her seatbelt, she gasped as water rose to her chest. Was this death? Her mind screamed, fight. But the cold was relentless, pulling her under. Darkness swallowed her. The waves, roaring, were her only companion. She didn't know how long she was unconscious. Pain jolted her awake, her ribs burned. Her head throbbed with a brain hemorrhage. The Jeep was a mangled carcass, its frame twisted like a broken spine, half submerged in the churning Pacific. Freezing water lapped at Angela's thighs, its icy grip numbing her battered legs. Shattered glass glinted in the dim light, and the stench of salt and gasoline stung her nose. The cabin creaked ominously, as if groaning in defeat, while waves hissed, threatening to swallow her whole. Her heart pounded, each beat a plea to survive, as the rising tide pressed against her trembling body. Each strike against the window sent agony through her fractured bones. 1 hit. 2. 3. The glass cracked, then shattered, unleashing a torrent of seawater. Gasping, she clawed at her seatbelt, her movements frantic. The ocean tugged at her, hungry, as she dragged herself through the jagged window. Sharp edges tore her skin, the salt water below turned red with blood. She swam. Her body screaming, until her feet hit the rocky shore. Collapsing under the cliff's shadow, she shivered, alone. The distant hum of cars above mocking her. Was anyone coming? Or was this beach her tomb? The desperate struggle. The beach was a prison of rock and sand. Trapped between towering cliffs and the merciless Pacific Ocean. Angela lay shivering, her clothes shredded. Her socks tattered. Her injuries were a symphony of pain. Fractured ribs stabbed with every breath. Her collarbone snapped. Her head pulsing with a dangerous hemorrhage. No food. No phone signal. No hope of rescue. Highway 1's traffic hummed above. So close yet impossibly far. She screamed. Her voice raw. But the wind devoured her cries. The ocean's waves seemed to laugh at her. Their rhythm a cruel taunt. Night fell, and the cold was a predator, sinking into her bones. She curled up, trembling, whispering her sister's name to stay sane. Survival became a desperate dance. On day 1, Angela spotted water dripping from cliff moss. A faint lifeline. Using a radiator hose from her wrecked Jeep, she siphoned the trickle, each sip a battle against dehydration. Moving was torture. Her feet bleeding on sharp rocks, her sunburned skin blistering. She scoured the beach, finding only driftwood and seaweed. Hunger clawed at her. A beast she couldn't fight. Am I already a ghost? She wondered, as fear and hopelessness tightened its grip. At night, she huddled against the rocks, haunted by visions of her family, their faces fading in the dark. Day 2 dawned colder, the fog thicker. Angela's legs trembled as she climbed to a high rock, waving at distant cars. But the mist swallowed her. Her screams grew weaker. The ocean's roar louder, as if plotting her end. By day 3, hunger was a knife in her gut. She chewed seaweed, gagging on its salt, while her stomach rebelled. Hallucinations crept in. Her mother's voice calling her name. She woke. Sobbing, the beach's reality crushing her. On day 4, dizziness struck hard. She stumbled. Rocks slicing her knees. Visions of a rescue helicopter flickered. Then vanished. Yet she fought on. Dragging herself to the moss, sipping water, whispering, "You're not done." The tide crept closer. Hungry. But her will burned fiercer. She wouldn't let this beach claim her. By day 4, her body was betraying her. Dizziness hit even harder, she thought she was swimming in the ocean. She stumbled, rocks cutting her knees. Hallucinations crept in, her mother's voice, a plate of warm food, a rescue helicopter. Each time she woke, the beach's reality crushed her. Yet she fought on. Driven by a stubborn spark. She fashioned a crude shelter from driftwood, its flimsy walls a defiance against despair. "You're not done," she growled. Her voice barely a whisper. But the tide was rising, creeping closer each night, as if the ocean itself was hunting her. Time was running out, and Angela knew it. Her screams grew weaker, but her will burned fiercer. She wouldn't let this beach claim her. The glimmer of hope. It's the dawn of day 6, and Angela's hope was a fraying thread. Her body was a wreck. Her lungs labored. Her injuries screamed. Yet she clung to her ritual: climb. Scream. Sip water. Survive. The Big Dipper had blazed the night before, and she'd whispered a prayer to it. A plea for a miracle. Dragging herself to a high rock, she scanned the horizon. Her eyes burning with salt and exhaustion. The fog was thinner today. The cliffs dark against the sky. She screamed help. Her voice cracking. Each cry a gamble against silence. The ocean answered with indifference. Its waves hissing. Then, a sound. Crunching footsteps on the sand. Angela's heart stopped. Another hallucination? She squinted, her vision wavering. 2 figures emerged through the mist, their silhouettes faint but real. A man and a woman, hikers with backpacks, scouring the beach. Angela's pulse roared. They're real. She stumbled forward, her legs buckling, and screamed, "Help." The woman's head snapped up, her eyes meeting Angela's across the distance. Time froze. The world holding its breath. The woman shouted to the man, and they sprinted toward her. Angela collapsed. Tears carving tracks through the grime on her face. They were here. Salvation was here. Chad and Chelsea Moore reached her, their faces pale with shock. "Are you from the Jeep?" asked Chad. His voice urgent. Angela nodded, sobbing. It's mine. Chelsea knelt, pressing a water bottle to Angela's cracked lips. You're alive, she whispered. They'd been hiking, diverted from their usual surfing spot, when they found the wreckage. Angela's story spilled out. Her crash, her pain, her fight. Chad stayed, his presence a lifeline, while Chelsea ran to find a signal. But doubt lingered in Angela's mind. Her body was failing, her vision darkening. The tide was rising, the cliffs looming. Would help arrive before it was too late? She gripped Chad's hand, her whisper fierce. I can't die here. The sun climbed, merciless, as Angela's strength ebbed. Chad kept her talking, his voice a tether to consciousness. You're a warrior, he said, but Angela's breaths were shallow, her vision fading. Her injuries waged a brutal war against her fading strength. Each shallow breath seared her fractured ribs like molten knives. Her brain hemorrhage throbbing like a ticking bomb. Her collapsed lungs strangled every gasp. Clawing at her life as darkness crept closer, whispering surrender. Yet Angela's spirit roared, defiant. The tide started to surge closer. Waves licking at the rocks where she lay. Above, the cliff stood like a sentinel. 200 feet of sheer rock between her and salvation. Sirens wailed faintly. A distant promise. Angela's heart pounded. But fear clawed at her. Will they make it? The ocean seemed to sense her weakness, its waves growing bolder, hungrier. Helicopter blades thumped overhead, a roar that shook the air. Ropes snaked down the cliff, and rescuers in orange vests rappelled with precision. The Monterey County Sheriff's team had found her, guided by Chelsea's call. Angela, we've got you. One shouted, his voice cutting through the fog. They secured her in a harness, but the ascent was a nightmare. Each jolt was a dagger in her ribs, her broken collarbone, grinding. The rope swayed. The cliff face inches away. Waves crashing below like jaws snapping. Angela's vision blurred. Her mind teetering. She saw her sister. Her family. Their faces pleading. Stay alive. Hold on, a rescuer yelled, his grip tight. The helicopter hovered, its blades a deafening pulse, as they hoisted her up. Her body screamed, her consciousness slipping. The ocean roared below, as if furious at losing its prey. This was it, life or death. Balanced on a rope. They reached the cliff's edge, paramedics swarming. Brain hemorrhage, collapsed lung, multiple fractures. One barked. Their hands moving fast. Angela was lifted into the helicopter, her body limp but her spirit clawing for life. The blades roared as they soared upward, the beach shrinking to a speck. She was alive. 7 days of hell, and she'd won. Tears streamed down her face as she thought of her family, her second chance. A rescuer squeezed her hand. You're a damn miracle. Angela's chest shuddered, a raw, triumphant sob tearing from her throat. The ocean's greedy waves had clawed at her soul. But she'd battled back. Unyielding. She was no mere survivor. She was a tempest. Forged in pain. Unconquered. Soaring above the cliffs that tried to bury her. Her spirit blazing like a beacon of hope and victory. The aftermath. In the hospital, Angela lay amid beeping monitors. Her sister's hand, warm in hers. Laughter mingled with tears, though each chuckle stabbed her broken ribs. Doctors marveled. She'd survived a brain hemorrhage, 4 fractured ribs, a collapsed lung, shattered collarbones, and severe sunburns. You shouldn't be here, one said, shaking his head. Angela's story exploded online, her Facebook posts, photos of her wrecked Jeep, her battered body, captivating thousands. "Life is fragile, but so is it fierce," she wrote. Her words raw and electric. She wasn't just a survivor, she was a beacon. Her story a testament to human grit. Angela replayed those 7 days. Each moment a scar on her soul. The beach had been her crucible, testing her beyond breaking. The radiator hose. The moss. The endless screams. They were her defiance. She thought of Chad and Chelsea, strangers turned saviors, and the rescuers who braved the cliffs. Gratitude overwhelmed her. She picked up her guitar, her fingers trembling but determined, playing a shaky melody of survival. Comments flooded her posts, calling her a hero, an inspiration. Angela smiled, her heart swelling. She wasn't a hero. Just a woman who stared death down and refused to blink. Recovery was slow, but Angela's spirit was unbowed. The crash. The cliff. The beach. They were part of her now, a map of her strength. She dreamed of returning to Big Sur, not to relive the terror, but to stand triumphant. To her YouTube listeners, she'd say, "Life will drag you to the edge, break you, test you. But you are not fragile. You are fire. Fight. Scream. Never give up." Angela Hernandez wasn't just alive. She was a storm. Her story a rallying cry for anyone facing their own abyss. As the last light sank behind the cliffs of Big Sur, she didn't just stand, she rose. Not as the broken girl who had once trembled in the dark, but as something forged in fire and fear. A survivor. Sharp as bone, and steady as stone. The wild hadn't taken her. It had revealed her. No longer running from the shadows, she now carried her own flame through the night. And somewhere, in the hush between waves and wind, her story began to echo. Not as a cry for help, but as a war cry. A promise. I am still here. And I always will be.